So this has been one of the most wild things I've seen in video games in the past year or two. With Marathon. Marathon got announced this weekend, and I thought it was a Bungie game. So I thought people would be pretty hyped for it, even if they were skeptical about it being an extraction shooter, or even skeptical about the way that the art looked. I was wrong. People hate this game. And like hate it for a variety of reasons. So we got a video here by Big Fry TV, and the title was pretty much perfect for what I wanted to talk about today. Is Marathon already dead on arrival? Let's dive in, see what he has to say. I'll get my opinion in there, because after reading all of the comments on the videos that I put out, like for example, yesterday I put out a video that was the story explained for Marathon. And I thought this one was like an easy one. It has a confusing story. I explained story. I thought it would just it would make sense. But the comments on it, man, people just do not like the game. So let's see what Big Fry is saying. And then as I've read comments and got opinions on it, my opinions changed a little bit. So let's see what Big Fry is saying.
Marathon, Bungie's new AAA extraction shooter, 6 years in the making. We're about 24
I didn't know it was 6 years in the making.
hours removed from the gameplay reveal showcase that happened on April 12th. And from what I'm seeing online, a lot of people aren't liking what the game is shaping up to be.
I've seen too.
From the premium price tag rumored to be aiming around $40 to the...
So this is the one thing that I actually haven't seen a lot of complaints about, is the fact that it's not a free-to-play game. It's going to cost $40, and kind of like what we saw with Concord, right? But no any sort of campaign or anything like that.
The overly saturated color palette being related to Concord, to the crazy abundance of abilities, wall hacks, all the way down to the fact that it just seems like another extraction shooter without a hook. Marathon isn't being received very well online. But what does that mean for the game's success when it launches on September 23rd? Is this another DOA flop, or will the impending alphas and subsequent betas win people over? Is there room in the market for another extraction?
So from what I've heard, gameplay-wise, from the people who have played it, is that the gameplay is okay. Like the shooting aspect of it and like the way that weapons feel and things like that is good. But the gameplay loop isn't. And they are planning on building the game with the community and moving forward and changing things. But at the same time, if they have such a broken way that the game flows, like you're constantly fighting AI, which means that you're not going to be fighting people, and that's the part of the game that feels best, that's going to be a problem. And then the art style. I hope he talks about the art style. If he doesn't, we will, because this is one of the things I found more interesting.
Shooter that can keep people's attention long term. Can this game keep people's attention long term? I want to talk about all of it here in this video, so leave a like on this one, subscribe for more videos, and use code BIGFRY when you check out at gamersubs.gg. That one's for all my weird anime gooners in the chat. So to start this video off, I think we got to talk about what Marathon actually is. It's a sci-fi first-person shooter with a strong narrative focus. One of the first in the genre to weave deep storytelling.
So one of the things that I've heard is that the narrative isn't actually fully written for the game yet, which scares me. But they have the deep backstory of the video that I made. So
directly into gameplay through in-game terminals. You interact... Oh, wait, no, sorry. Oh, no, that's the original Marathon, my bad. The new Marathon is a team-based extraction shooter. So nothing to do with what the
that was good.
original IP was. It's just using the name. You play as a runner, which are cybernetic mercenaries with unique abilities. As you battle rival teams and security forces for weapons and upgrades, you can fill your vault, take on high-stakes challenges, and unravel the colony's mysteries. And during the showcase, they unveiled 4 archetypes. You have Void, which
Is it unveiled or unveiled? Now I don't know if I'm right in the way that I say it.
specializes in stealth with invisible cloaking capabilities. You have Glitch, which focuses on speed and disruptive abilities. You have Locust, which emphasizes close quarters combat with defensive skills. And you have Blackbird, which excels in reconnaissance and area scanning. And according to The Verge, while there's going to be 4 runners in this alpha test that it's coming up at the end of the month, when the game launches, there is going to be 6 to choose from. Subsequently, with the maps, when the game launches, there's going to be 3 maps to choose from, but during the alpha, I believe we're only getting 2. But essentially how the game works is it's a PvPvE extraction shooter with up to 6 teams of 3 players, or solo and duo players, which, by the way, editing Big Fry here, why not give us a solo mode at launch? If you're a solo player,
I completely agree with this, to be quite honest with you. I've said it before, I will say it again, and I will continue to say it as much as I possibly can. If you can't play a game solo, it will not be successful. The reason why Fortnite is the most successful battle royale is because it's the most playable solo. Straight up. Because of the whole building mechanics and everything, it made it so that if you got caught out in the open, no matter how fast the time to kill was, there was an option, there was something that you could do to protect yourself. No other battle royale has anything like that. And because of that, I truly believe it's one of the reasons why it's most successful. There's other games, like the least successful mode that Call of Duty has put in it since in years is the raids. Yet I think the raids are one of the most fun things that we've had in the games. Why are they the least successful? Because you can't play them solo, period.
You have to jump in and play against other squads. You can choose to not fill your squad and play by yourself, but you're putting yourself at just such a disadvantage. And all this is going to do is just have people bitch and complain and ask for a solo mode that you're going to bring in a future season. Like, just stop the charade, the run around, just fucking do it. Anyway, rant over, back to the video. You face off against both rival players and AI-controlled enemies, including security forces and other indigenous creatures, and there is no restrictions on team composition, so if you all want to play the same runner archetype, you can do so. And as we know, the game is going to be utilizing seasonal resets to refresh gameplay. It is a live service.
So this is one of the bigger complaints that I've seen from Destiny players. Destiny players are loot goblins, right? Like, they work for time and time and time to get these better weapons and all of these things, and then they have them for 6 years. Well, in this game, your loot disappears every single season. And that's something that we've seen before. And to be quite honest, this is what I was going to say before. I feel as though no game has perfected the extraction shooter. Like, I think Tarkov is probably like the closest, but like, there needs to be vendors. There needs to be all of these, like, various different things. And with Bungie and Destiny being a thing, they have like their social spaces, right? Like the area that you can go where no one's attacking you. There's vendors and things like that in Destiny. Why doesn't this game have that?
This model game, most likely we're going to see microtransactions with different,
like, the way that this should have been done, and just hire me now, Bungie, is once you go in on an extraction, you go in, and when you extract out, you kind of teleport out into the marathon. That's where you go back to, and that's where all the vendors are. That's where you return all your items. That's where you sell them, and that's like kind of social space is the marathon, hence the name. That would have made so much sense, but you didn't do that. I think that's like a no-brainer.
Cosmetics and whatever else we're going to get. It is yet another live service extraction shooter from a AAA studio who has created, in my opinion, one of the coolest looking worlds when we're talking about.
So this is the thing that I've seen is all the influencers, all of like the creators like the way the game looks, but all of the community hates it. Like, hates it. And I think it looks pretty good, to be honest with you. I think the in-game gameplay looks a little less saturated than everything else, and I think that might need to be fixed, and I think that's an in-game gameplay lighting thing, kind of like we just saw with Warzone, how the original Warzone looked actually better, but the lighting didn't work because they went straight for ambiance. But hey, that's what I'm
actually
thinking.
Looking at the trailers, the game is set in 2850 on a planet called Tau Ceti 4.
It's not set in 2850. It's set in 2893.
It's basically a mysterious abandoned colony where you play as a runner. And I think the vibe and the aesthetic outside of the actual game itself is actually pretty cool. Watching the gameplay for the first time during this reveal, I was kind of overwhelmed. There was a lot of shit going on screen. The gunplay did not look great at all. And then eventually they cut to usually what is a red flag for me when they go to the influencer side of things, where it's just a bunch of content creators who are there talking about how great the game is. But in that reveal, they showed off some gameplay from Dr. Lupo, and I believe Hidden Xperia was on his team. And the gameplay there looked a little bit better than what they showed in the, like,
you know what the problem with them showing this gameplay is? They kept cutting it. So you couldn't actually see, was there any downtime? What happened in between fights? What was the looting like? They just cut it so that it was fight after fight after fight after fight. And again, look at the map. It looks so much dim and dingy and foggier than we saw in all the trailers.
like original trailers and stuff. Weapons actually look like they had a little bit of impact on enemies. The game feels, or at least it looks like it feels like a slowed down Apex Legends with not a lot of crazy, like, over the top movement, but there is still like a faster pace to the game. Then obviously all of the abilities and shit like that. Look, this game is very divisive online. I would say, like, looking around the landscape, seeing all of the comments from YouTube to Discord to Reddit to Twitter, it's not looking good. Before we get into,
and normally you can look at the platforms, like you can look at, okay, Twitter's just mad at everything. We know that. But then YouTube will have some positive thing. My comments on this game,
the community sentiment, I just want to say, for me, the gameplay looked decent. It looked like something that I would at the very least try.
I agree
and
with
it's one of
that.
those things where I don't currently want to completely write it off until I obviously get my hands on it. I will be participating in this alpha later this month, but as I'm watching, I'm also wondering what the actual hook is. You know, it's an extraction shooter, which a lot of people are burned out of extraction shooters. I myself am still, like, looking for the pinnacle extraction shooter.
well, that's exactly what I said. I agree. I'm looking for that pinnacle extraction shooter, but I've seen a lot of people say, like, people who play extraction shooters are looking for realistic extraction shooters, which I don't think is a fair thing. Like, I think there's room for a game like this, but, like, what is that hook? That is the real question.
Like, I've covered and played games like Arena Breakout, which I did enjoy. I really enjoyed DMZ for the very short flash in the pan moments that Activision actually supported that fucking game mode. I think there's still room for a very good extraction shooter in the
Agreed.
genre that can grab people's attention and hold it the way a game like Tarkov is. It doesn't need to be Tarkov, but it needs to set out to do what Tarkov did, and that's basically grab everybody by the balls and make a game that no other game can seem to match. I don't think that Marathon is going to be that game. The moment I hear live service model, I want to tune the fuck out. Because
Everyone
while I
does.
believe that games like this need a live service model in terms of content flow, new maps, new guns, you know, all of that stuff, usually when you hear that and it's tied to a AAA release, at least in the West here, it usually means tons of microtransactions, drip-fed little content, and subtle changes to keep people playing. And I'm just not a
I don't
fan
disagree with that.
of the way that the live service model has taken on this give as little as possible and ask for as much as possible mentality. But on the flip side, we also don't know what they're going to be charging for the game. The rumor is they're shooting for $39.99. But so for $40, not a full-priced premium release, I could actually maybe get behind it if there is enough meat on the bone at launch for me to want to dive in. When I hear 3 maps, it kind of turns me off a little bit. When I hear that it's only teams of 3 and not 4, I'm a huge fan of playing Call of Duty Warzone with 4 people. And I
I
understand.
don't know if I said this already, but I heard some creators say that there's going to be, because they said each different map is going to host a different amount of players. And apparently there's going to be some maps that have little or no PvP, and it's just PvE, kind of like raids from Destiny. Now, I don't know whether that's true or not, but that was just a rumor I heard.
They designed this game to be for 3. Like, it is what it is, but it's not a selling point for me that I can't play with my usual squad. And on top of that, from some of the gameplay I've seen, it just kind of looks not finished. And here we go. I know we're gonna, well, it's entering into alpha. I know that that's coming. Look, guys, it's 6 months away. This alpha is going to be a lot of balancing changes. They're going to open it up and see how people play, to see what runners need to be nerfed. It's a lot of TTK balancing now, but the main game is essentially done. And so we're going into alpha. We're probably going to see a beta in the summer. And I'm wondering what's going to keep people here long term. One of the big selling points of this gameplay reveal was the fact that they had a trailer at the end of this showcase. So it's an original short film directed by Alberto Mielgo. I'll be honest, I don't know who the fuck that is. I'm not a movie guy, but he directed a short film to enrich the game's narrative universe. And watching that short film, it was actually like very unique, very incredible. The shot composition,
could be wrong, but I think that guy is from Love, Death, Robots, if you've seen that show.
was fucking awesome. I enjoyed
Like
watching
one of the
it,
directors.
but to me, it's not a selling feature of playing a video game. If you're going to try to tell a story and weave it in throughout seasons, that's cool. It's like very low on my list for if I want to pick up a game or not. What I want to see is why we're going into these raids. So we loot up to get stuff to go and do it again. Just to go and do it again. I feel like from the AAA space, from a team like Bungie, with the resources they have, backed by Sony, I need to see more. Can we extract with things, pull it back to our base, and do things in a hideout that is way more in depth than something like Tarkov? Can I craft ammo? Is there talent trees for different crafting where some players can craft ammo, some players can work through a talent
I could be wrong, but it didn't seem like ammo was a hard thing to come by.
tree for medication, and then when you play together, you can combine all of these resources to like. We got to get more into the meta game of these games, because I think that is where the longevity of a lot of these titles last, and nobody's done it. And I'm hoping to see something here, because from everything I'm seeing from the gameplay itself, this looks like a quick flash in the pan. People are going to play it because it's new. And unless the live service model blows people's dicks off and we get a new map like a month after launch, we get like 4 new guns, maybe I just can't see this making an impact based on the reactions that we're seeing online. Now let's talk about what everybody else is talking about. This game is divisive as hell online. The videos are getting dislike ratio to about 50%. Their Discord is a cesspool from people who are both shitting on Marathon as well as shitting on the fact that they abandoned Destiny 2 to work on Marathon. So they're getting best of both worlds there. When you go to the community hub on Steam, the first post is people's jobs are at stake, and it's from a fanboy who says, I get having a little trolling fun, but there are hundreds, if not thousands of peoples whose lives depend on this game succeeding. And the first comment underneath that is, make the game good then. And then the next person says, I agree, but then I look at the gameplay and I can't even tell one innovative thing apart about the game that hasn't been done dozens of times already. That's the general sentiment is, this is just another extraction shooter. The words generic, the words boring, the words Concord 2 are being thrown around like no tomorrow.
So Concord's going to get thrown around for 2 reasons. Number one, PlayStation bought Bungie. Concord happened, and this game looks a similar art style to Concord. Also, it's another game that's been in development for a very long time. So yeah, it's almost as though people want to see the failure of it. But we've also seen time and time again, Bungie knows how to do a good gameplay loop. Like even Destiny, when like there was things like you had to go to all the planets and farm for crafting materials, people still enjoyed it because the game was fun to play. So I think we won't know for sure until people get their hands on the alpha. But the sentiment behind this game, people do not like it.
One of the top comments under the actual gameplay reveal is at the end of the Marathon is layoffs. I put a tweet out asking people their thoughts on what the game is. And I gotta say, it's one of my most engaged tweets, 391 comments. And the only positive ones are people saying that they haven't seen any negativity. And it's like, okay, like, it's divisive, right? There's obviously going to be people that enjoy Bungie games and they're looking for something new and they're willing to give it a shot, and that's great.
That's kind of where I am.
That's kind of the camp that I'm in. Like, I understand this isn't the Bungie of old. This isn't Halo 3 Bungie. This is Destiny 1 and 2 Bungie, and I'll be honest, I wasn't a big fan of either one of those games. So realistically, I
really like Destiny. I'm going to be honest with you. I really liked Destiny.
Bungie, there hasn't been a game that they've made that I've resonated with for almost 15 years. So I have no connection to the studio, but what I do see is a game that, in my opinion, has a really unique visual setting and a game that could potentially be supported for a long time. In terms of gameplay, it doesn't look the best, but I've definitely seen worse games get hyped up by these same people that I'm seeing in some of these comments. So it's like, if we're gonna write off this game, we should probably be writing off others. So at the end of the day, I'm sitting here like, holy fuck, the hate is huge. I don't think it's like, oh, it's just haters trolling. I actually think a lot of people are just A, sick of extraction shooters, B, sick of this like oversaturated magenta colored aesthetic, even though I do think this leans pretty far away.
I see. Okay. I don't think that's it. I don't think it's that people are sick of extraction shooters, nor do I think it's that people are sick of the way that this game looks. I think there is just literally nothing in this game that resonated with anyone. They didn't. One of the things that you can do to draw people in is get them associated or make them feel not recognizable. That's not the right word, but like attached to some of the characters. I don't feel attached to any of the characters. There's robots that you were literally not supposed to feel attached to them. Okay, that's a problem. Okay, do we feel attached to the world? Not really, because the world's a mystery. Okay, well, do we feel like we need to go in and figure out what happened? Okay, kind of. But then are you attached to the gameplay loop? And based off of what everyone is seeing, there's nothing to really do that. I think if they would have shown like that social hub sort of thing where you go in and then you extract, and then there's this whole other back game at the marathon of crafting these things and building out your new loadouts and how all of that stuff works, then we would have had a game that intrigued people, would have had something new, would have had a social hub, would have had more elements to it than just an average extraction shooter. But that's not what happened, and like that's like a dream game that I'm making up in my head. So
away from a game like Concord, I can definitely see the comparison and why it's being made. And I also think that the gameplay isn't the only thing that people want to see innovation in when it comes to extraction shooters. Like I said, you need to really give people a reason to want to go in and extract, because unlocking guns and attachments to then just go in and do it again and be a little bit stronger isn't doing it for people anymore.
I think you got to have character leveling systems that are really good. I think you have to have contracts that are really good. And I think there should be like, you go in and you talk to someone at the main base, whether that be the marathon or not, talk to them. They give you a little bit of story, and then you go in and you find something on the world, and then you come back and you report to the like missions, but in an extraction shooter, but full on conversations, not just, okay, click a button to have a contract. There needs to be more
meta game build that I think developers just aren't thinking about when it comes to giving players the resources and the reason to want to go in and continually explore these maps. And so I think the third thing that people are just really sick and tired of is the lack of innovation. Running and gunning can only get you so far. And when it's a game like this where it's fast-paced and I don't think there's a lot of immersive feeling here with the crazy over-the-top HUD. It's pink rainbow puke all over your screen. And like I said, while I'm willing to give it a shot, I totally understand why people are instantly looking at this and going, oh God, we got another one. And I say this as somebody who literally received a package from Bungie just the other day. They invited me to give keys away during the stream. They're inviting me to play the alpha. But at the end of the day, it's like, we got to talk about what we're actually seeing in front of us. You guys have a really unique setting. You guys have an art style that I think is going to be very divisive. I think a lot of people like it. A lot of people hate it. And you have a gameplay kind of dynamic that people can automatically compare to games like Apex Legends, where it's 3-player squads. Everybody has different abilities, different runners and archetypes. And it's just like, we have seen it a million times before. This is just mixed a little bit differently. And I just think people are over it. But as always, I want to know your guys' thoughts. This has been a long video. A lot of things I wanted to talk about. The community reception has been fucking insane over the last 24 hours. A lot of negativity. A lot of it warranted, though. It's not like, I don't think a lot of it is like blind hate. I think there's a lot of valid points.
There is a lot of blind hate with it. Like there's a lot of like the DEI, here we go again. There's a lot of stuff like that. And like, I get it. You're playing as a non-binary robots. I understand, but like, okay, can we never have a robot game because a robot doesn't have a dick? okay, like let's wait to see what the actual story is before we go into any of that stuff. Those are the complaints that I've kind of just ignored. It's the gameplay complaints, and like, okay, well, it seems really clunky, and like, why would I go in, like, especially the people who are Destiny fans who are like, why would I go in, do all of this, get a better character, get my top tier weapon just to go in and lose it? Like, what's the end goal here? Like, what's the actual point? And I'm like, that is the problem with extraction shooters right there. That is 100% the problem with extraction shooters. You end up losing everything anyway. So what's the point of the final progression? That's the thing that needs to be figured out and innovated on.
Points being brought up. There's obviously a lot of bullshit being brought up. There's women working at Bungie, the game's gonna fail. Like, it's all that bullshit. But I think if we focus on the actual product itself.
And by the way, I think the answer to this is what the Division did a long time ago, where an extraction shooter isn't just an extraction shooter. There's a point of a game that's an extraction shooter, but then you can use those things that you have earned in other modes, like a single player or a raid mode or a strike mode or things like that. Like, if you took Destiny and added an extraction shooter element to it, and that you could only get certain items through that extraction shooter game mode, then that is where you have your answer.
There's a lot of valid concern about the future of this title. I want to know what you guys think. Leave a like on the video, leave a comment down below with your thoughts. And if you aren't subbed, why the fuck not? Use code BigFry at gamersubs.gg. You get 10% off of your order. I appreciate you guys making it this far in the video. If you have a great rest of your weekend.
I will.
My name is Big.
Thanks, Big Fry. It's been a wild. It's almost 48 hours now for me, but a wild time with this game, and it is not the response I thought people were going to give. But here we are. This could be a big failure of a thing. It really could be. But Bungie has seen things like this before. A lot of people didn't like a bunch of parts of Destiny, and they pulled through with that game. So I'm not giving up on this game, but holy crap, am I worried about it. Let's just put it that way.